Hey everybody, welcome to the Tolkien Collector's Guide YouTube channel. We're very excited to have Dr. Sara Brown with us today to talk Tolkien and collecting and her massive library of books and collectibles that we're very excited to share with you. So, Sara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Sara. I have been a Tolkien nut since I was very tiny, um, and I've never stopped. In fact, my entire job revolves around Tolkien, which is just everybody's dream job, I think. I've been working for Signum since 2012, Signum University, and I've been lucky enough working for them to work with some really great people in our field, like Dimitri Fimi, Corey Olsen, Verlin Flieger, et al. And working on some wonderful courses, all to do with Tolkien. So that's kind of my day job. But in between, because sleep is for the weak, I've started to put my academic work out there. When I passed my PhD, I was already middle aged. I was 40 when I passed my PhD. And at that point, my daughter was 12 years old. And I said, okay, that's it. Now my daughter needs my time. And I stayed as a high school teacher until she was, well, 18, 19 years old. She's now 22 and it's mama's time to shine. So I'm finally doing lots more conferences and starting to get my work published, which is really exciting. But of course, for the last many, many, many years, I have been collecting all things Tolkien. So it's not just books. I may be an academic, but I am a certified nerd. And I have many, many things on my shelves in my lovely room, which is my happy space. So I'm excited to talk to you all about it.
Well,
Well,
it's great to have you here, and certainly having seen some pictures of your collection, I think we've got plenty to talk about. But I think the first question really is the obvious one: is what was the first Tolkien book that you had?
The Lord of the Rings. My dad gave it to me when I was 8. It was actually on his shelf, and it's it's the paperback version of the one with the yellow and the trees going like so. And I was a precocious reader, which will come as a shock to no one who knows me. And I think he just wanted to give me a book that was going to keep me quiet for more than 10 minutes. And he handed me The Lord of the Rings at 8 years old. And that book is still in my possession. And it is a prized possession because my father passed away 12 years ago. And it's part of him, if you like. And I read from it at his funeral. So that is without doubt the first thing Tolkien I ever owned. So since I was 8, I've had something of Tolkien on my shelves.
Yeah, it's a very nice book. That's the Pauline Baines
The Falling Danes one,
covers.
that's it, yes.
Yeah, and they're absolutely fantastic. The only slight problem with it is that when I first got mine, it was a slightly later. It was the one. It was the Batchkey one, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realise that the appendices were missing. And of course, you only have one in there. You've only got the one of the appendices, and it really is for a long time. You're actually missing out a lot not having those appendices in there. But it is great
Mm-hmm.
to that. Those covers are fantastic on
Oh,
there.
they are, yes. And the other problem with it, of course, is it's now so old, it's just falling to pieces. So
mhm.
it is gently placed in my bookshelf and it is very rarely pulled out these days.
Yeah,
I'm just afraid of it falling apart.
which it probably will do. So I think yeah, it's just. But hopefully, looking at your collection, I think you probably have a few other copies you can read instead of that one, if
One
you
or
need a reading copy.
two, yes. I think I'm going to be threatened with divorce if I buy any more copies of The Lord of the Rings, but I think it's worth the risk.
It is,
It's
yeah.
worth the risk. Definitely worth the risk. You can
There's
get a new
always room
husband
for one
anywhere.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the next one really is obviously you needed to read books on Tolkien for what you do, but how did you move into collecting from that? Because I always class collecting as having more than one copy of a book, really, of the same
Mhm.
book is collecting. And a lot of people very sensibly don't. They just have one copy which they proceed.
Mhm.
How did you move into collecting copies as opposed to just having like a reading copy?
Now, this is funny because I can blame my husband for this. Uh, because for a birthday stroke Christmas present, because they're right at the same time, he bought me the beautiful HarperCollins slipcased red edition that is part of the wonderful, huge series that we're all collecting now. And that was my third copy of The Lord of the Rings. Now, the first copy was my dad's copy, which is really not usable. The second copy is an extremely well-loved and battered paperback with the John Howe Gandalf on the front that I used through my PhD. That's the totally thumbed one, and that was my working copy, if you like. Then my husband presents me with this beautiful copy of The Lord of the Rings. And so that's kind of where it started, because once you've got that, then you really do have to buy the other ones. And do I have more than one copy of the Silmarillion? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I now have multiple copies of The Hobbit? Yes, I do. Because they're beautiful. And I wouldn't class them as reading copies. They have been gently thumbed through to make sure they're okay. But they are take off the shelf and stroke and admire copies a lot. So I now have, oh goodness, I have lost count of how many copies of The Lord of the Rings I now have. But I know that if I come across another beautiful copy of The Lord of the Rings, it's going on my shelf. It's that simple. So,
Well, sorry, you're not crazy like us, and you don't have anything all cataloged in a spreadsheet or anything like that.
no, but you know what? I've been thinking about it. I mean, what if the house burns down?
You should totally do it. It's super fun.
Well, it is, but it takes you a long time to do. You have to
Yes.
put quite a lot of effort into it.
Time is something I'm a little short of right now, but I mean, it's no joke. If this house burned down, it would be a real problem for me to know exactly what I had. So photographs at the moment is all I've got. And I
And they're
really
actually
do
quite
have
good, the photographs, because at least you can then go back to them later on and say, well, this is what was there.
Yeah.
So I think I always encourage people to take photographs of their shelves, just so that it is as an aid memoir, really, of what was on there. Because you will remember when you look at the photograph, you remember exactly what was there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite a good way to do it.
Yes. Yeah. The other things I've been collecting book-wise is the history of Middle Earth, because again I've got working copies, which are the three big books, and those are the ones that I use all the time. And then I've got the deluxe edition ones, because of course I have. And I've been collecting the individual ones, HarperCollins. So whenever I have any money and can afford it and can find one, I'm getting a first edition, first printing of the HarperCollins. But it is not complete because I'm an academic and I don't always have however many hundreds of pounds. And I haven't got the Peoples of Middle Earth, which is really expensive and not easy to find a first.
Well, it might be if you know the right person who's got one who might be interested in. Might actually send it to you if you were.
Oh, somebody's being coy down there.
Somebody is, but call me.
I will contact you. I actually do have one.
Yeah, I don't have number 8 and number 12. And I don't have the index yet, which I will get when I've completed my collection. I'm holding on until then.
You can't get the index at the moment because HarperCollins unfortunately seem to have stopped producing the print-on-demand ones.
Temporarily.
But it's not permanent, though. They're going to bring it back.
No, you can't at the moment get it, unfortunately.
I was really sad that for the first time that I've been monitoring, they're running a 40% off sale as we speak on the HarperCollins website, but the print-on-demands are not currently available because they're switching printers. They're moving the printer they've been using for more than a decade just has stopped making that form factor that they were using. So they're moving to a different printer. So yeah, if for your index, when you're ready, just keep an eye on the HarperCollins website on the index. It is a print-on-demand book only. They've never done it in another edition. And it will show up again. Yeah. And hopefully there will be more sales. Discounts on the HarperCollins website.
And we're also sort of expecting, because it's the 40th, it's Christopher's centenary next year. So there's a possibility that there might be some new History of Middle-earth hardbacks coming out anyway next year.
Oh boy, I'm going to need a new bookcase.
Yep.
They would probably be with the John Howe covers, the same as the paperbacks.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, I have nowhere to put those at the moment, but I'll have to find somewhere if they
We're
do.
going to need a bigger
I'll
Middle Earth.
definitely be getting them.
Yeah, I'll find somewhere. I just will find somewhere because
I'm
some of
looking.
them have to go.
They're really nice covers as well. I think it's John's illustrations are fantastic. I don't know, Tara, if you saw on our website about the new stamps that have just come out for John.
Yes, the ones I may have just pre-ordered.
They're great.
Yeah.
I love things like that. They're really nice.
I'll drop a link into the show notes, but yeah, those are from the Swiss Post. They're releasing September 1st, but you can pre-order them now, and they do ship worldwide, almost worldwide. I know there's 1 or 2 countries that are on their no ship list, but pretty much worldwide.
And there's no markup. It's literally just the cost of the stamp.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that. They're like I think they're 1 Swiss franc stamps, and so the little sheets of 4 are 4 francs, and they will ship. They will ship them for free if you order enough. I don't remember what the minimum order size, but it was not large. So that's.
Yeah, I don't think I had to pay any shipping, which is fantastic, really.
I was thinking that all of them would look really nice in a frame. I just need some more wall space. That's all.
Who needs windows? I'm looking at Mr. Underhill and Trotter, and I'm like, how do you have windows behind you? You got to wall those over, put shelves up.
I know.
Exactly.
It's nice to let light in occasionally.
I could pull more books.
Electricity is for.
I know. I could pull more books out of my book closet if I just block my window here.
So the next real question is: so if money was no object, then what item would you love to add to your collection?
Oh, anything signed by Tolkien himself. That's the ultimate. I'm going to tell you about the real nerd thrill I got when I was working in the Bodleian Library doing my PhD. And I'm sitting there on my first day down in the cellar in the Ratcliffe Science Library, because that's where it had all been shifted to that year. And I'm holding in my hands a piece of notepaper about yay big with Tolkien's writing on it. And I just sat there and looked at it, and I thought, he held this paper. He wrote on this paper.
He wrote it, yes.
How can I run out of here with this? No, I better not do that. It was such a nerdtastic moment. Wonderful. And yeah, if I could get my mitts on something actually signed by Tolkien, but it really would have to be a money no object, right? Because
unfortunately, that is the case now, isn't it?
Yeah, these days. Yeah.
And that's if you're absolutely certain that the signature is real. Because
there's a way to check, way to check on that, which is to ask on the Tolkien Collector's Guide. Yes, which we are. We won't tell you if it's genuine, but we'd normally tell you if we think it's a fake.
Which is a good resource, because there are a lot of Tolkien. There are a lot of fake Tolkien signatures out there.
That does not surprise me, because the kind of money that a Tolkien signature goes for, it's well worth somebody's time, I suppose, to try and forge one. And if they get away with it, they get away with a lot of money. So, I mean, it's awful, because obviously there's somebody who's put out a lot of money for something that, would be a treasured possession, and it turns out to be a fake. So, yeah, I think I'd have to win the lottery to persuade my husband that this is a really good thing to spend our money on.
It's a tough conversation. Yeah, similar thing with my wife. I have a budget that's for Tolkien, and I can't touch anything else. So we can't dip into the children's college funds when something interesting shows up.
They get grumpy about that, though, don't they?
Yes. My spouse gets very grumpy about it too. I've had some conversations in the past. Where I've had to take breaks.
I can get away with anything that's a book, because he understands it's a book, right? And books are a thing. They're a must-have in my life.
Yes.
Anything else that's not a book, yeah. The new art print I bought, which is a Donato Giancola, was my present to myself after the last course that I did at Signum, which was a 12-week lecture course, 24 lectures, 2 hours each, on race, gender, and the other in Tolkien. Heart and soul went into that for me and Christopher Vaccaro, and I thought I earned a gift to myself. So that's
That's a nice gift.
I thought
I
so.
don't know if you can see, but on my T-shirt there's a certain person's signature,
I can see that.
and that signature is from there.
So the signature that Andrew's holding up, that's a real signature. The one on his shirt, that one's not real. The one on
That's
his
a copy. That's a copy of the one in the book. That's actually the one in the book. It's a copy of it. So it's a facsimile. Tolkien didn't sign my T-shirt, but I wish he had.
Sarah, I'm interested to know, because I know you spend a lot of your time doing research and things like that. Do you prefer to do your research with physical print books, or do you like to use like Kindle ebooks to do research, or do you do a combination?
Maybe it's because I'm old, but I just cannot get on with scholarship books on Kindle. I did try. I do have all the history of Middle Earth on Kindle, but I need hard copies.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can. I need to actually have them in my hands so that I can work with them. I don't know why.
No, I totally hear you. We have been doing a lot of work with letters for our site.
I know.
And I've always used print books for research, but I had to break down and use an ebook version for letters for what we've been doing, because it was too inefficient. It was taking me too long.
Yeah, we copied and pasted most of the letters onto our website, and on my PC it actually said in the end that I'd done it too many times, so I wasn't allowed to copy and paste from the Kindle. I don't know how much that is to actually get to that, but it's letting me do it again now, so obviously I think it must, over time, it must go away.
You hit your monthly limit.
You can do it again after a while.
Wow.
I've never seen it say that before. You can't do it. So you've hit the limit for how much you can copy and paste.
See, I guess none of the rest of us aren't researching hard enough. I've never hit a limit on copy and paste like that before.
No, I work with electronic documents for articles and papers and things like that, and I don't have a problem with that, which is just as well, because that's how most of them are accessible. But for some reason, the books need to be hard copy for me. There's a satisfaction in having it anyway in your hands. I am not a put it face down, dog ear, or scribble in person. I'm afraid I use post-it stickies in the book. But I like the visual nature of that anyway. So, if I've got a particular colour sticky in somewhere, a little note on it, I know that it's for a particular point that I'm looking for. And so the whole book can be covered in stickies, but I know what they're for. And it just, I don't know, maybe it's the visual nature of that really helps. But when I'm doing research, which I'm doing at the moment on a daily basis, actually, because I'm writing like a nutter right now, the book in my hands is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, it feels different. Just having the physical book and the sensory nature of it. I do a mix. I think there isn't anything I have just in digital format. I tend to buy both. Just the physical book for the reading through, and then for the search and tagging and stuff. I do like having, where was this quote from? Being able to go back and find it quickly through digital search, and not as deep in the Post-it note. I do both, but yeah, it's and it's frustrating here in the U.S. that a lot of the Kindle books aren't available yet. We just got the History of Middle Earth 2-3 months ago. They finally did the last 3 or 4 volumes of it, just because it was the rights were different for decades, because Houghton Mifflin had the U.S. publishing rights, and it was a completely different system, and the the arm of Houghton Mifflin that did fiction, which included the Tolkien rights, was recently forked off and reacquired by HarperCollins. So now it's all under one roof, but it's still two different teams and two different publishing calendars. And so they're getting closer. There's a lot of simultaneous releases now, but a lot of the older ebooks are just not in the US. And so it's
There's some strange things like Hammond and Skull can't read their Kindle version of the companion and guide because they're in America. They can't get it. So at one point they asked, I sent them what the copyright page looked like because they'd never even seen it. So
Well,
it's bizarre, isn't it? When you can't read your own book, it's very strange. But anyway, there we go.
I do hear you, Sarah, about the sticky notes. There's something satisfying about looking at your research copy and seeing like the multicolors coming out of the pages. You know, there is something satisfying about that.
yeah, I know I've done some work when I can look at the book and go, yeah, look at all that. I've done some work. I'm doing my research. I'm being good.
The next question then, apart from the one that you've already sort of said, which is your father's Lord of the Rings, what would be your favourite item in the collection?
Oh, okay, so non-book. I've got this, going for non-book first, I've got this it's really strange thing. It's like, looks like sort of like a bowl. And in it is it's not the One Ring, not quite that crazy. It's a copy of the One Ring in it. But if you look at the bowl from the side, it looks like the ring is hovering above. So it's like a holographic thing. It's kind of, I don't know, I just love it. I just think it's great because it's just an ornament. It doesn't do anything apart from sit there and look fab. And I think that's actually not a bad thing. I really, really like it.
It doesn't want you to try to make you murder people then or anything like that.
One Ring, yeah.
So sorry. So it's not the actual One Ring, right? That would be quite valuable if you had the actual One Ring. Like that, I wonder what the market value would be for having the actual one.
But I'm not selling it.
Of course, you could never sell it. I know, of course,
you
you'd never be able to part with it. So, like, you couldn't physically do it. So.
Exactly. So that's my favourite non-book.
Mm-hmm. I like the eye of the Sauron one. I wanted to ask you about the way you got that.
Gift from one of my classes when I was a high school teacher. Yeah, it's cool, and it makes noise as well, which is
awesome.
So great. Yeah.
So you
does it light up?
Sorry?
It doesn't light up. It doesn't light up, does it?
Oh, it does light up.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
Would you like me to demonstrate?
Yes,
absolutely.
I'd like to see it light up. Yes.
I'm hoping the battery still works. It's been a while since I replaced it, but yes.
It light up. Oh, that's marvellous. Yeah. You have to tell me where that came from, because I'm going to have to try and find one of those.
I don't know. It was one of my. I taught high school for mumble years, and one Christmas, my little year sevens who were 11 years old. They presented me with this. They were so pleased with themselves, and I was freaking delighted because
it's fantastic, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But I must have it. 15 years now. So goodness knows where you would find this now.
Oh, on eBay. You look for them on eBay. You seem to have a bit of a clue as to what
you can find anything on eBay.
Does it say anything on the bottom? Manufacturer name or anything like that?
Yeah, it's New Line.
It is.
Toy
Okay.
Biz via
Toy
New
Biz.
Line.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, we're having a look for one of those.
2005. 2005.
2005.
That's how long I've had it.
Awesome.
There you are. As far as book is concerned, that changes all the time. Quite often it's the new one, the new shiny one is my current favourite sort of thing. I've got the it's the box version of the book that was brought out by the Bodleian for the big
the Maker of Middle Earth.
The Maker of Middle Earth, and I bought the full boxed,
the super deluxe
beautiful version because, of course, I did. And that is a favourite. It's really, really lovely.
Do you still have the box that it came in? Sorry.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Yeah.
We actually have the first video on our site is someone actually unboxing that.
Oh, yeah, that was mine.
That was,
Yeah.
that was the first one that was ever done.
It was lovely. It was a lovely moment unboxing that. Oh, look at this, and just stroke
tissue
it.
paper and everything. You know,
I
it
know,
was
wasn't
really
it
well packaged.
So beautifully packaged.
all the good-
I haven't opened mine yet.
You haven't
Mine's still
opened yours.
in the box. No, it's still in the box. I've never opened it.
Wow.
Well, I know what it looks like because I've seen Jeremy's video. It's great. So I don't need to open it.
I'm not that crazy. I have opened mine, but it's still in the box it came in. But I
It's
have
not
opened
open.
it.
I've reached the point where I have to open everything just to look to make sure everything's there. It was manufactured well. I mean, HarperCollins, I'm sad to say, has trained me. Don't keep it sealed. You've got to look at it. You've got to let it breathe.
I could have an empty box, couldn't I?
Trotter's is probably all. Yours is probably all blank, and you just don't know it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a choice.
Things out of the shrink wrap. The shrink wrap's not good for books, right? Is that correct?
I would agree with that. The risk is probably low, but letting a book breathe, it more depends on your environment. If you're in a bit of humidity or if the temperature fluctuates quite a bit, moisture will get trapped inside the shrink wrap, and then it'll just feed the fungus that creates foxing, and you can get warping.
The shrink
and
wrap
stuff
eventually will go brown, and the chemicals will leach out of it as well. So eventually, it actually damage your book.
Yeah, the shrink wrap's not pH neutral. It's
if
not.
If you had, say,
acid-free.
1960s shrink wrap something, then you need to get rid of that pretty quickly, the shrink wrap, because that stuff's probably fairly nasty by now in terms of the chemicals in it.
Yeah, I've got all my shrink wrap off everything. One, because I was aware that shrink wrap was not necessarily a great thing to have, but also because I want to look inside the book and make sure it's good. So, yeah.
Caring for books is actually quite simple. It's just keeping the humidity down and keeping it out of the sunlight. If you can do that, your books will be fine.
Yeah, I actually have a dehumidifier in this room, and it's full of books because, you know, I have spent a lot of money collecting these books and adding to my bookshelves with academic works, which are very expensive. And the idea of them getting ruined by humidity. I live in an old Victorian house, so I just have to be careful. And the blinds on the window are always closed. They're always closed against the sun, so I try and keep the harsh sunlight off them as well.
Do y'all take your a question for everybody, I guess? Do y'all take your books off of the shelf about once a year and dust them, or is that not something that you do?
No, I do.
Sorry, you do.
No, I don't. Well, I did this year because I catalogued them, and they did need. And to be honest, I should have been doing that. So I think you're right, because they get really dusty, and
having
you just
the
don't
dust.
notice. You just don't.
What about
see
you, Jeremy?
them,
Do you take them off the shelf? And
I try to. It's a good habit to be in. I think Wayne and Christina recommend annually from their librarian experience or expertise to just keep the dust from accumulating, because the dust, of course, is not acid-free either. It's it is organic, and it will start to affect things if it sits there for a really long time. So yeah, it's not a bad idea to just go through gently, give your shelves and books a little chance. Plus, you'll notice things. You might catch a little sign of insect damage. You know, some bug found one book, and if within a year, they might damage one book, but if you let it go a decade, they'll do the whole shelf. And so those are the types of things you'll notice. If you just see having a book sit for a decade on a shelf and not be touched, it saddens me. So even if you're not cleaning, even if there's no damage happening, just revisiting them is not a bad idea. But yeah, dusting is a good idea to do occasionally.
I actually have a dedicated duster, which I bought, and it's kind of bent over so that I can get on the shelves and actually get dust off
the top of the books.
What is that, a Swiffer?
Yes.
Yes. Swiffer has to pay us has to pay us now, Jeremy.
I'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
I use Swiffers as well. The little throwaway cloths they really suck up dust, but they're really soft and gentle. I love those things. So
perfect for getting the dust off your books. We sound like an advert now, right?
So you said a favorite non-book and a favorite book. Looking at some of the pictures you shared, and I'll throw some of these up, you've got a lot of non-book stuff. So what draws you to, I see toys, puzzles, art. Talk a little bit about your non-book side of your collecting.
I just like to be immersed in all things Tolkien. So my walls are covered in Tolkien art. You haven't got photographs of all my Tolkien jigsaws.
Oh, I'm sure.
I have loads, because I actually have a dedicated jigsaw desk, because I love to do jigsaw. When I'm writing, I like every hour to take a 5-minute break, and I'll wander over to the jigsaw desk and do a little bit, and then I'll come back and sit down and do some more. It's great. But the ones that are around that came in the like hexagonal boxes from the films? I've got all of those, and I've got a load of the ones that are Peter Bukovnik.
Yes,
those are great, and
they are nice. Those, they are nice. I like those.
Great, yeah. I've got loads of jigsaws are wonderful. I've got lots of toys, and I've got lots of things that aren't necessarily definitely Tolkien, but are Tolkien adjacent. Like I have lots of dragons on my desk, because my dragons. They watch over my writing, and
you have to have lots of dragons. I mean, how can you get any work done without dragons?
Yeah, they keep me honest. That's one of on my desk. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 dragons, and then I have more dragons on the shelves behind me, because I like dragons. I'm Welsh. What can I say? But the whole point is that when I come into this room, this is my space. I don't mean my husband isn't allowed in, but there is a sign on the door that is reversible, and on one side it says no admittance except on party business, and on the other side it says speak friend and enter. So he knows when he can come in and when he can't.
Does he have to say how long to come in then for the door to open?
You taught him how to crack that code? Which one means which?
You have to say how long.
The whole point of having all of this Tolkien stuff around me is that I'm immersed in it, and I love it. I love it anyway. But I feel in this space that this is really a space in which I can be me and enjoy all things Tolkien. And besides, every time I see something new and shiny and Tolkien-esque, I just want it anyway. So I'm going to run out of space soon, but it is not this day.
Do you get rid of things? Like, do you ever reach a point where you're like, I need more space and I'm willing to part with this in order to add that? Or is this just...
Yeah, but my husband won't move out.
We just need a summer home. He can have the summer home, and you guys will visit on... There you go.
Garden shed. No, in all seriousness, yes, absolutely that happens, but nothing Tolkien has been dispensed with ever. Other books have migrated to other bookshelves in other rooms in this house. There are many other bookshelves in this house because nerd. But all my Tolkien books are in here. And I'm going to at some point run out of wall space. But again, it is not this day. And I will find space for things. I'm going to keep finding space for things for as long as I'm still breathing, frankly.
Excellent.
I like some of the models that you've got. Where are they from? I think there's one that looks like there's Mashido and there's Barad-dûr. Did you have to make those, or are they kits?
They were kits. They are actually 3D jigsaws. Yeah, and here's the unfortunate thing. To do 3D jigsaws and follow the instructions, you needed an engineering brain. I don't have an engineering brain. What I do have is my daughter's boyfriend, who moved in with us over lockdown. And it's exactly the sort of thing that he really loves to do. So first of all, he built the tower And then he built Edoras for me, and they sit proudly in my room. And I was delighted because I tried to have a go at doing, it's Orthanc is the tower. I tried to have a go at doing Orthanc, and I got nowhere because my brain just looked at the instructions and said, eh. But, I didn't want to get rid of the jigsaws or anything because I knew that once they were built, they would be great. I just needed somebody who could help. And lo and behold, I had a Tom. And it was Tom who did the building. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. No, I have one or two of those different from you. I think I have a Hobbit-based one. There's probably, I think they made 10 or 15 of those over the years. And those were early 2000s. So I haven't seen any. I'm sure you can find them on eBay, but they're long come and gone. I'll just say, I think it was Rebbit. WREBBIT was the manufacturer, so that helps narrow down when you're searching for jigsaws on eBay to find these, because they are a lot of fun. I don't keep mine assembled because they do take up a lot of space, but I love those puzzles.
Yes, they do take a lot of space. The Edoras one is it's a good foot wide by foot long on the base, but luckily I've got a little cabinet. And it just sits on top of that cabinet, which is exactly the perfect width for it.
Do you have any of the Legos or anything like that? Are you into that at all? No. Okay.
I want Lego Rivendell. I want it. I want it.
I thought you might have it because since you're into the models and stuff like that.
Yeah. I could probably manage the Lego, but the Rebbit puzzles were just a bit beyond my poor brain. My brain does not work that way. And I thought, because normally when I can't do something, I'll turn to YouTube because somebody's put something on YouTube to tell you how, right? Not for these. Yeah. I couldn't find anything for these, so that was just a bit sad. But the only way I can have Lego Rivendell is if I give up my jigsaw table, and I'm not giving up my jigsaw table. So.
What would, if your house was going to burn down, or if you had some sort of disaster befall what would you save? If you had time to save one or two items, what would you pull out?
Well, I would save my dad's Lord of the Rings copy because that has enormous sentimental value. And then I would probably have to grab my signed by Ted Naismith Taniquetil print that is above my desk, which he very kindly hand signed for me in 2019 in Birmingham. It's big, but I reckon I could get out the door with that and the copy of the book and probably still make sure that my husband got out safe as well.
Yeah, we assume the family.
That's done first.
And you took all the pictures of your shelves, so you have everything cataloged for insurance purposes.
Yeah, so so long as I've got access to the cloud, I'm good for that because they're all uploaded to the cloud, so that's okay too. But yeah, I think of all the artwork, the one of Taniquetil would be great, and my dad's book would have to come with me. The rest are replaceable. That one is not replaceable. I mean, you can always get another copy of it, but it's not my dad's copy. So
no, yeah. What have you mentioned earlier? You were doing a lot of writing recently. You've had, I know you won a Tolkien Society Award for an article in Malorn.
Yeah.
So what are you working on right now? Is there stuff that our listeners, viewers, collectors might see coming out from you?
I'm working on a huge amount at the moment. It's a little bit crazy. So there is a book on queer readings of Tolkien that is being edited by Stephen Yandel, Christopher Vaccaro, and Robin Reed. And I have a chapter on Shelob as queer mother in that book, which we've got a publisher, so we're hoping that'll be out, if not the end of the year, probably the beginning of next year.
Who's the publisher, sorry, that you have?
Sorry, say it again?
Who's the publisher? You said you have a publisher.
We do, and I can't remember.
No problem.
And I have a chapter in a book on medieval readings of Tolkien. It's a book being edited by Dr. Jane Beale, and that's got various readings of Tolkien alongside medieval scholarship. So I'm looking at memory in Tolkien's work and reading that through kind of a medieval lens. So there's that. Christopher Vaccaro and I are currently working on a book together. And
Excellent.
yeah, we are turning our lecture series on race, gender, and the other in Tolkien, which focus solely on the Lord of the Rings. And we are writing that up into a book as we speak. That's going to be a little while yet, because writing a book surprisingly does take quite a while, even when you've done lots of lecture work in preparation for it. I also am writing lots of papers for conferences. I'm presenting at Oxenmoot. I'm doing a paper on Éowyn, and I'm presenting at the Northeast Popular Culture Association in October, and I'm doing a paper on orcs. I'm presenting at Bayou Moot, which is a Signum one that's free and will be online. I'm actually keynoting at Bayou Moot. And that will be talking about Éowyn as well. And then I am keynoting at the University of Vermont's Tolkien conference. Again, that's hybrid, and that's next April. And I'm actually flying over to Vermont for that. So I've got a lot of writing to do. And the conference papers will eventually get written up, and then I'll put them somewhere. I've got some on my academia.edu page. There's 3 currently on there anyway. And then I'm going to write a few more up, and then I'll probably send those to the Journal of Tolkien Research, because that's an open access journal where there's loads and loads and loads of wonderful scholarship, and you don't have to pay for it. And I think that's a rather wonderful thing. So I shall do some of that. So it's kind of a watch this space, I guess.
Excellent.
Things are coming. It takes time, but things are coming.
Awesome.
Obviously, I think I found out recently that you're doing a course called The Dark is Rising for Signal.
Yeah.
What's that about? And what will people be able to get on that and actually find out about?
Okay, so that is for Signum's Space course, which is Signum Portal for Adult Continuing Education. And they are fun courses that they're a month, and you get 8 hours worth of classes, 2 per week. And there's no papers or anything to write. It's for fun. But for this, which I've proposed a course, it will only actually run if enough people actually decide to sign up for it. And it's on a series by Susan Cooper. And the series is called The Dark is Rising. But actually, there's one book in the series called The Dark is Rising. The first book is called Oversea Under Stone. And it's set in Cornwall. And what Susan Cooper does is I think this is wonderful, she marries kind of old pagan thinking and beliefs, like we get in Cornwall, old Cornish pagan beliefs, with Arthuriana. So there's a lot of King Arthur in it as well. So it shifts around from Cornwall and then into the Midlands of England. And then the last few books are all set in Wales. And they're set in Wales, not far from where I live, which is one of the reasons why I love the series. But actually, it's because the series is just absolutely fantastic. So what my course would do would be to take one book per month and look at all of the different mythology and narrative that Susan Cooper is pulling together to form like this overarching story, which is all about, well, evil is rising, because that's what evil does. It likes to do that on occasions. And it is how good rises to meet the evil in the world. And the evil disguises itself, and a bit Tolkien-esque. It's that kind of looks fair but feels foul sort of idea. And a lot of the people who are part of the rising of evil hide in plain sight. And there's all this sort of thing going on. But they're kind of young adult books, but they're also great for adults because they're just a fantastic story. Most of the protagonists are younger, not young children, but like teenagers. And it's about how they encounter the dark, and the dark is the evil, and what that does and how they respond to it. And there are some really, really wonderful storylines in there that just bring in the most wonderful mythology that is so rooted in British history. So that's another thing that we would look at, is how she's bringing all of that together. They're wonderful books. If you haven't read them, even if you don't take my course, read the books because they are absolutely fantastic. They're great stories. Totally recommend. But if you are interested in my course, then go to the Signum University website and in the search box, just put space. And it will take you.
We'll put a link in for that.
Yeah, we'll check the show notes for this. There'll be a link there as well.
Awesome. There are a bajillion space courses to choose from. So go and have a look in the catalogue because they're all great.
Yeah, I'm super interested in taking some of those and also reading Susan Cooper's books. I suffer from zero time to the number of projects I have going, but they're highly recommended. The classes, everything I've heard about them has been awesome. So I do highly recommend people check those out. Yeah,
we're very proud of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sara, I have a question about. So I know that you've done a lot of work with Alan Sisto on his The Rings of Power podcast. I know that y'all went through season 1 and everything, and season 2 is in the works. It's on pause right now because of all the strikes and things like that. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on maybe like hopes for season 2. What maybe you'd like to see, or maybe expectations, any sort of like insights you may have. I'm just interested to pick your brain a little bit on that.
Okay, I'm not sure I've got insights, but I have hopes. I'm hoping they're going to explain the whole Mithranium issue, because I'm not dismissing that out of hand. We've seen 1 season out of 5, and I would love to see them actually explain the whole idea of Mithril is what's going to save the elves. I want to know why that is so. So I'm hoping we're going to get a little bit more of that. I know we're going to get Celeborn at last. So what I'd be interested in is how that dynamic works with Galadriel, because one of the things that I enjoyed about the first season was it was really female character centric. And that is so unusual that it's, when it happens, it's quite noticeable. So a lot of the main characters were female. We had Bronwyn down in the Southlands. We had Miriel, of course, in Numenor. We have Galadriel. And then we had Nori with the proto-hobbits. And it was fantastic. And my queen, Disa was my favorite character of the entire first series because I thought she was just fabulous. So it was a really female-centric, dynamic narrative that I'm very interested to see what they do. I'll be disappointed if those female characters get subsumed under male characters. Not because I don't want there to be great male characters, but I want the female stories to remain front and center because I do think that's actually one of the strengths. There have been some weaknesses, and we discussed those at length at the Rings of Power wrap-up. And the three of us, Alan and James and I, we didn't always agree. If you were listening to it, you will probably note that the three of us had different ideas and different thoughts on things. I'm still, yes, there's some weaknesses, but I'm still remaining positive. I'm not going to make a full judgment on this until I've seen all 5 series. And then I'll look back and see how they have actually told the story they're going to tell. And by the way, I predicted Sauron from the very beginning. I said that. So there you are.
I'm sort of hoping that Sauron, they actually do have different people playing Sauron. And
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that actually be great if they start to do that because he isn't just one person.
No.
They are one of him. is you can't tell who he is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So why can't it be different people? And I think
Yeah.
they've had one person playing him, but they can have multiple.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's still at a stage where he can change his appearance. And
Mhm.
he's got to get back to Celebrimbor, right? And
Who
I
knows
think
what he looks like now in
right,
the
exactly. So no, I want to see them do interesting things with Sauron, um, because he's supposed to be charming and beautiful and compelling, and he can be all of those things if they work with different actors to do that. I'm not saying that Charlie was not beautiful and compelling, but he was presenting a very different version and face of Sauron. I still want to know why he was on a raft out in the middle of the ocean.
Mhm.
I want to know
There's
something.
more
Yeah.
questions than answers from my multiple viewings of the first season.
Yeah, yeah.
I-
But it's the first of 5, so I'm
Yeah.
giving them a break.
I really liked the character Adar, and I want to say I read somewhere that he's not going to be in season 2, or
The character it's a new actor because
Oh,
Joseph Moore, and I'm really sorry about this because I thought he did a fantastic job as Adar. He couldn't continue for I don't know what reason, but they have recast it. Adar was one of my favorite characters.
yeah, he was very compelling to me.
Really,
Yeah.
really well written, very interesting. The dynamic between him and Sauron and him and Galadriel, those were fascinating. And also his relationship with the orcs. The questions that they were posing there about the orcs, now that's interesting because most of the time orcs are presented as nothing more than cannon fodder, right? There's lots of them, kill them all. That's
Yep.
it, pretty much.
And they're very
But we
stupid
saw-
as well. They weren't in
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
They're not. They're not.
Yeah.
They are. They're presented in a very different way. These orcs have feelings and personalities, and they have emotions.
It's
And
it's
that
funny.
is
It's funny.
new.
Yeah, it's funny because I think they're struggling with the same thing that Tolkien struggled with whenever
Right.
he had to really sit down and think about orcs.
Yes, yeah, I agree. But that's something I think is actually a strength of the first series,
Yep.
is how they depicted the orcs because they've taken a chance there. They're not doing the same as so many other presentations of orcs have been, which is simply cannon fodder evil. And I think that, yeah, that I think is something I hope they continue to pursue because that's interesting.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sara, for joining us. It's been fantastic going through a bit of your collection, your work, your history, with the upcoming projects. It's been fascinating talking with you, and I really hope we get to see you again around here.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I was really excited to do this and to show off some of my collection and just have a chat with other people who are just as nerdy as me, which is always lovely. But it's been really great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you again so much.